Apex a bit soon. Stay up. That's it. Out we go. In. Apex as well. Oh, we missed the apex there. Let's go out. Right out the cockpit. Latch out in fourth gear. Third gear. North down. 35 out. Welcome to another episode of repairs to this old Triumph 2500 Mark 1. Well, it's not really repairs that I'm going to be doing today. The engine in this car is getting pretty tight. It's pushing oil out the filler cap and over into the catch tank. Now, the only thing I can think of that's doing that would be that it's pressurizing the sump, so some of the compression is going into the sump. So the gearbox is tied, the engine's tied, the clutch is tied, so the motor's coming out anyway, but I am going to investigate a little bit further before I do that. It starts wonderfully and pulls quite well, so it's got me a little bit puzzled, but anyway, I bought a leak down tester. Now this is a cheap, $40 off the internet thing that's probably not that flash in terms of its longevity, but it's 15 years ago since I last done a leak down test, so it's not something I'm going to be using all that often, so who cares. Alright, let's get the plugs out and get on with it. Can't say I'm looking forward to pulling the motor out of this car. I'm going to pull it out downwards. That involves a little bit more work, but it's ultimately easier. Years ago I wouldn't have even blinked a lot sort of at the prospect of pulling the motor out of this thing, but these days, well, just seems a very daunting thing given the state of my knees and back and every other thing that seems to be failing. So I can't say I'm busting with enthusiasm to go pulling it out. Now, to do this leak down test, you need to get the plugs out and get the cylinder number 1 top dead center, like the piston all the way up and the 2 valves shut. Now normally I'd pull the tappet cover off to do that because it makes it really easy to work out when all that's happening. All the valves are closed and what have you. But this has been pushing oil out for a while now, and I thought it was just the tappet cover gasket, so I've siliconed it on, so I don't want to pull it off because I've still got a couple of events to go to before the end of the sort of car club event season, if you like. I'll just sort of wind it round and do the best I can. Now, how does these leak down testers work? Well, what I'm going to be doing is basically putting compressed air into the cylinder. And with the piston all the way up, the two valves closed, put compressed air in there, and it's a matter of where's it going to go. So, compressed air, you can hear air coming out of the top of the filler cap or the dipstick hole. It means compressed air is getting past the rings. If you start hearing air come out the exhaust, it starts getting past the exhaust valve. If it's coming out through the air cleaners, well, it's coming out the inlet valve. And well, it's got a blown head gasket, which it doesn't have. The air would be escaping all over the place, I guess, or into the radiator probably. So that's the methodology. Now just a matter of seeing if all that works. I've always found these leak down testers to be really good gadgets for telling you exactly what's wrong. Far better than a compression test, which will tell you, like, you know, a variation in the compression, but if all the cylinders are the same, it doesn't really tell you that much. Alrighty then. That is plugs out. Okay, first thing is this hose. Just screws into the spark plug hole. Basically just finger tight. And we have this gadget. Now this thing is a leak down tester thing. We're basically going to put this end onto that hose, this end onto compressed air, and there's a regulator here to turn it off by, and there should be a cheap one, so it doesn't have it. The last one I used had a thing you press to relieve the pressure, but this one doesn't appear to have that. At any rate, okay then. There's 20 psi going in, and it is saying on there's a gauge here that there's a gauge here that is showing low. So I'm not sure what that is telling me. Okay, that's number 2 and number 4 appear to be pretty well up. Therefore the valve should be closed. Let's try again. Well, there's no noticeable air coming out anywhere in that cylinder, number 5. Yet the gauge is saying it's worse. Unless I'm interpreting this wrong. Which yeah, I might be, I may well be interpreting this the wrong way around. Yeah, okay, I think I am, yep. I was sort of thinking along the lines of a compression gauge, and therefore low would be low compression. I think low is low leakage. That's why this one's really good on this gauge, and I can't hear any air coming out anywhere. So, but they're all been in the low area, which is good. And it shouldn't be good. I need to find a fault here because, well, it's coming out anyway, but unless I find another reason for this thing to be pushing oil out. I've got to pull it out to fix the clutch and gearbox anyway. The days of me pulling a gearbox out from under the car are well gone. Yeah, that's not the result I was really looking for. I was expecting to have a substantial leak of air past the rings into the sump and be either coming out the filler cap or out the dipstick hole, into the catch tank type stuff. And that's not what I've got. There's air escaping, you're going to get that anyway. And the gauge is saying it's low, as in low leakage, which is not much leakage, if you know what I mean. Now, I've been chasing this problem for a while now, so I've already looked at the possibility that it's pressurizing because it's not breathing, you know what I mean. I've had that with gearboxes, the little breather hole in the top of the gearbox can get clogged up and that can build up pressure inside and force oil past things that it wouldn't normally do. But it's got a 1/2 inch hose going to a catch tank, and it goes into the catch tank, and then there's a hose coming out of the catch tank just venting to the atmosphere. And even before that I didn't even have a catch tank on there, I just had the hose venting under the car and it wasn't clogged up. So that's a fair bit of breathing going on there. Oh well, let's get the plugs back in the sucker and make sure it runs and get back to contemplating my navel about what might be wrong with it. Okay. I'd love to not have to pull the motor out, to be honest. But like I said, I'm beyond getting the gearbox out from under the car by myself these days. There's just no way I could do that. But it would certainly be nice to not have to rebuild the sucker, but it probably wouldn't hurt to do so. It's just a bit of a daunting prospect. Oh, I don't know. Don't grow old, guys. You know, there was a time not that long ago where I would have quite happily whipped this engine out and rebuilt it, and it would have been working, so it would have been done over weekends and wouldn't have given it a second thought. Okay, in the light of a inconclusive leak down test, I am going to do a compression test on it. So let's see how this pans out. Now, I've never found compression tests to be, they're informative but not as conclusive that I think of leak down tests, but we'll get some numbers and see what happens. Okay, we're looking at we're looking at 145 psi in number 1. Alrighty then, so we're looking at 1 at 145, 2 at 155, 3 at 150, 4 at 160, 5 at 160, 6 at 155. That's a very even spread of compression, which says there's nothing untoward again. So why is it pushing oil out of the filler cap? and into the catch tank. I don't know. I wonder what would happen if the valve guides, valve stem seals were worn on like the exhaust valves. When all... Yeah, alright, GoPro. When all those exhaust gases go out through the exhaust valve and out the exhaust, maybe some of them go up the valve stem and into the tappet cover area and pressurise. Is that possible? Is that a thing? I've never... It's just the brain ticking over here, thinking out loud. Anyway, I'll put the plugs back in and fire the whole sucker up and make sure it's running. But I'm just no wiser. Given the way the engine goes, and both the compression and the leak down, and my reluctance to pull the motor out, I really don't. It's not going to hurt to rebuild it, that's for sure. But why rebuild something and spend money when perhaps you don't have to? But I know I could take the head off and get the head done. I think I will consult before I do anything more. Fellow Triumph owners, maybe. As I've said, I've got to do the gearbox and clutch anyway. Goes totally and absolutely against the grain to pay somebody I have paid people to work on my Toyota Celica simply because it's a car that's a bit modern for me. I have done a lot of work on it, but yeah, some of the stuff's sort of just not in my ilk sort of experience, you know. I've had Triumphs for, I think it was about 87 I got my first Triumph, so before that it was Minis and Marinas, so yeah, it's all been similar cars, similar designs if you like, or way of doing things. The Toyota's a different kettle of fish altogether. It'd be very hard for me to hand this car over to a mechanic to do the gearbox unless I took it to a specialist Triumph mechanic I know. So, hey, he does gearboxes easy. Well, that's about it. I've done a leak down test and a compression test. Both are giving me good sort of numbers and information. So they're somewhat inconclusive in relation to why it's pushing oil out through the filler cap and into the catch tank. Puzzle, and more puzzle. So that brings us to the end of this little video. Tune in, same duck time, same duck channel, for more mechanical mayhem on this poor old 2500. When I was going to say I'm going to pull the motor and gearbox out, but now I'm not so sure. Bye for now.